Hey, welcome to another episode of the Elk Collective. My name is Jermaine Hodge. A little bit about myself. I'm in the Army, the World Class Athlete Program. I am the female wrestling coach right now for the freestyle team. I wrestled from 2005 to 2016. I made a few national teams throughout my career. But let's not even get off that high horse. I'm the 2019 World Elk Calling Championship for the men's division. And I'm going to teach you a little bit about Colorado and how I do things here. I've been successful from 2006 to current. Who knows what's going to happen this year? I don't even know. We got 18 cameras out, and I'm going to teach you a little bit about e-scouting. So e-scouting, for me, is really, really in-depth. I spend hours, and I say hours, it's calculated hours. These hours are divided between day after day after day after day. And it doesn't stop. So after archery season, I spend time looking at film, looking at footage, looking at the Google Earth, looking at where is my next unit. So what I'm going to concentrate on right now is for the people that are coming from out of state or in-state that just want to hunt over-the-counter unit, either sex archery. We'll get into rifle and stuff like that a little later, but right now, either sex archery, let's go get it. What I like to concentrate on is everything west of 25. West of 25. So if you look at the synopsis on page 38, on 38, the big game brochure, on 38, it will show you the over-the-counter licenses for antlered tags. That's an either sex tag. And it will show you exactly where those tags, where you can hunt. So, the three apps that I like to use the most: Base Maps, Google Earth, and I use Colorado Division of Wildlife Atlas. And I know it looks like a crazy mess up here. I got 3 screens up here. Let's be honest. I got 3 screens at my house popped up in front of me, and I'm looking at them at all times, dissecting them. So, with the Colorado Division of Wildlife Atlas, what I really focus on is when I find that unit. What I really like to look at is statistics. Colorado Division of Wildlife, their website gives you statistics. When you get on there, you can peg it right away. Go to statistics, go to draw statistics, and they already have the statistics out for 2020. If you already coming out this year, no problem. Look at the 2020 statistics. It'll tell you how many people applied for that unit, what the statistics of draw in that unit is, how many tags, and so on. Once I figure all that out, I go on the atlas and say, you know what? Let me look at everything as far as that unit and peg it out. But what's nice about Base Maps? Base Maps does the same thing. You can do summer migration routes, you can do all this, and it's all based off layers. And we'll get into all that stuff, and I think Dirk has covered a lot of that stuff in his future film. I mean, his films already, but so what I look at is we're just going to peg out Unit 80. And I got Unit 80 drawn up here. If you could look at Unit 80 right now, Unit 80 has a lot public land that's drawn out. One of my layers that I have pegged out right now is some of the summer migration corridors where they migrate at, where they concentrate in. And then I go from that point and I look at a couple different things when I'm looking at these different maps. I'm looking at the high meadows, and I'm looking for water holes. Water holes, because honestly, Colorado, they don't say it, but Colorado's a dry state. It's a dry state. And there's a lot of fires that go on in Colorado year in and year out. But what I look at is high mountain water. not lakes. I'm just looking for puddles. And honestly, Google Earth will define those puddles for you. So I zoom in, and if Google Earth shows a pond, it might look like a lake, but it's a pond. I zoom in, and that pond might look like a lake, but when you get up there, it's a pond. For a prime example, we went up this year to check out one of the units, and it was literally a pond. I zoomed in and said, pegged it, and said, we gotta go up there. And nonetheless, 4 miles up the mountain, a mile and a half across, we ran into that pond. And it was probably the most epic moment of elk hunting, scouting in my career, because I ran into a pond that I would not expect. It had lily pads, it had this, it had that. It was legit. So we got a camera set up on that. So then we went from a mile from that, and we were looking at meadows that were corridoring that, because those meadows were feeding grounds. That pond is water grounds, but the meadows are feeding grounds. So we looked at some of the meadows that were near that, and lo and behold, it was tons of elk sign. So nonetheless, I'm going to break it down one more time for you guys. Look at the Colorado synopsis, the brochure. Turn to page 38. It'll tell you where you want to hunt as far as over-the-counter units. If you haven't decided already, now's the time to decide. And pick your units and use these apps. There's other apps out there. Go Hunt. There's Onyx. There's some other apps out there, but I'm going to tell you right now, these are the apps that I use, and I'm faithfully using these apps. And this is base maps. It has a bunch of different layers that you can use. It has the summer corridor, it has the winter corridors, and then I use the Colorado Atlas. You can peg in, you can change the same settings as base maps, and then when I really need details, I peg in on Google Earth. I zoom in on Google Earth to make sure that these apps are corridoring straight with Google Earth. And all these apps are correlating with each other. So I pegged my unit, I chose my apps, I do my research, and now it's time to get foot on ground. When I do foot on ground, it's a lot of things that I'm looking for. So I peg on base maps or Onyx or whatever app you use. I peg it, I execute that, and what we like to use is stars. Like it's a 1-star unit, that's a 2-star unit, that's a 3-star unit. We're going to use that's a 1-star spot, that's a 3-star spot, that's a 4-star spot, maybe that's a 5-star spot. So we peg it on the map. When we peg it on the map, we go in there and look at that spot. I could tell you firsthand that we've been up scouting. We got 18 cameras out. Here in the future, we're going to have another episode where we show some of our footage on ground, exactly what I'm looking for. But nonetheless, a lot of these spots that we got pegged out are 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. When I go into those spots, I'll let you know this is a 3-star spot. And then I'm going to tell you why it's a 3-star spot. And then what the signs that I'm looking for. If some of the signs are good. If some are not. But another thing that Dirk covered in the previous video is that what I'm really looking for is cows on the camera. If I can get cows on cameras, I know exactly that I'm hunting that area. If I got a lot of bulls on cameras, those bulls like to corridor right out of those areas, and Dirk talked about that last episode. So we'll get into that. Personally, we have 4 guys that I hunt with, 4 guys that are local that I hunt with, great friends of mine that hunt with me. We have about 18 cameras up, and we have some guys that travel out from out of state that are great friends of ours as well. They don't get to do, all they get to do is the e-scouting. They don't get to do foot on ground. They rely on us to do the foot on ground, and then we relay the message. So, stay tuned for the next episode where we do foot on ground and we tell you exactly what we're looking for. But as far as e-scouting, I use Basemap. Colorado Division of Wildlife, and then I use Colorado Atlas, and I use Google Earth. So I wanted to get a little bit more in depth, so I brought you onto my screen so you can actually see how I go about doing things if I'm looking for a new unit, especially if I have preference points and I'm applying for a unit. So what I like to do is I like to pull up the Colorado Division of Wildlife website, and then I go to the big game. Usually they have an elk or something that shows you that particular page, and it's a hunting big game. What I like to do on the left side of the screen is look for hunting statistics. So here it is right here. I click on it, and then when it brings you up to a hunting statistic page, just scroll down. Here you'll see the different animals within the the Colorado Division of Wildlife website. Right here, I'm gonna go to elk, and then it'll bring up the hunting statistic page. Just scroll down, and then you'll see here's the tabs right here. It says 2020 draw recap report and draw out at report. I did the pleasure of bringing those up already, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to that page. This is the draw out report, and the draw out report just tells you. I'm just going to choose unit 61, which is a very hard unit to draw. I would never be able to draw that tag. I'm not going to wait that long is what it boils down to. But here it takes 14 points just to get into the game of being able to draw that. 35 out of 68 people drew that with 14 points. But it sounds like 15 points would get you a 100% chance. Here's the non-resident right here. 23 points to get you in the game. 11 out of 25 drew that tag. So 24 points would guarantee you the tag. I'll go ahead and go to a recap. And this is 61. Like I said, I've never been in this unit. Never even been in here to scout or anything. So this is all new to me. I just picked a random unit to show you guys. So right here, unit 61 only has 90 tags. With that being said, it's probably a slim chance that you're going to draw this tag unless you have a lot of points. Here it is. This right here is 727 residents tried to apply for that on first choice, and 283 non-residents tried to apply for that on the first choice. Don't even pay attention to second choice or third choice, because if you put this in for second and third choice, you're not going to get this tag. Over here to the right side of the screen, 58 people drew the tag, and it looks like 35 drew at 14 points, 15 points 8, 16 points 10, and then so on. The non-resident right here is 14 people drew that tag. It looks like 23 gets you in the game, and then 24 gives you the 14 number that they came up with. So in all, it's only 90 tags, and there's a lot of people drawing for this. This is a good tool to use when you're trying to look for a unit that you want to draw. So let's say I did draw the tag at 15 points. What I'm going to go to is I'm going to pull up Basemaps, because this is all about e-scouting, guys. I'm going to pull up Basemaps, and I'm going to pull up Google Earth. Did a little bit of research in the unit 61, and what it looks like to me is I'm just pegging off this, this particular drainage, these 3 drainages right here, just using these as an example. So once I find these 3 drainages, or the drainage that I want to look at, or the hilltop I want to look at, I pull it up on Google Earth, and what do you know? It looks exactly like Basemaps. But I'm going to go ahead and pull it back up on Basemaps here to show you exactly what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll in, and I'm going to target this first drainage right here. Just give you an idea. When you start seeing a light side of hill and a dark side of hill, what that represents to me is you're probably looking at a south or east facing slope right here, and a north or a west facing slope right here. I like looking at stuff like this because it gives you a perspective of they're probably feeding over here and bedding over here. With a drainage running down like this, you probably have water coming down here as well. So, all in all, this is basically what I would be looking for if I was looking for elk. Just going to peg and give you an example. I like this dark. When I talked about high meadows and high mountain waters, this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little closer. And I apologize. My computer's a little slow, so just bear with me while it loads up. So we got 3 meadows right here. These are target areas that I like to look at because most of the time it looks like maybe some snow sat in this area and melted off and then caused some water to pool up in these particular areas. So since I like these areas, I'm going to go ahead and place a marker right here. No need to, label it right now or anything. Just go ahead and peg it down, and then I'm going to zoom back out. And then I'm going to go over to the that south facing side or the east facing side. I'm going to take a look at some of these areas and see what I have here. Oh, some more water right here, so I'm going to go ahead and peg that. And these are just target areas I'm looking for. Remember, there's things that you need to look for when you're looking for elk. It's water, food, and cover. If I got all 3 of those, I have recipes for elk. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and back out a little bit too. And since this is a target area that I want to look at, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Google Earth. I'm going to zoom in on this target area just to confirm what I was looking at. These are the high mountain meadows, and then that's that water on that east or that south facing side. So just so I can see what the terrain looks like, I'm going to go ahead and go 3D mode. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. It's a drainage. This side right here is a lot flatter. This is steeper. Those high mountain meadows covered by this hill. It's a perfect area to look. Let me go back to base maps. There's a couple of different layers I'm going to go ahead and pull out. I'm going to pull these layers up because I want to take a look at, let me go down here to hunting, and then I'm going to go to Colorado. We're going to go species, elk. I'm going to scroll down. Now there's a couple things that I like to look at. Elk summer ranges, elk. I like to look at elk summer concentration areas. So I'll go ahead and highlight that. Get off that. So it tells me right now that the elk are hanging in here probably 24/7 when it comes to summer. So I'm talking about March, April, May, June, July, maybe even August. And then you'll probably get these early bulls in here too as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that layer back off, and then I want to look at let's turn that one off. I want to look at winter ranges, winter concentration areas. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that one on. So it tells me right now that this area is probably getting pounded with snow, and these elk move out of this area. They probably move down to lower elevation. The same with the other side. They probably dive into 62 and then concentrate into some of the lower elevation areas. So once I figured out that this is the area that I want to look for, I can go on Google Earth and I could dissect it a little more. I can come in here, I can zoom in. So when I start seeing light areas like this, lighter trees, I'm looking at meadows and probably aspens. This darker timber is probably more representative of pine trees. And then if you zoom in a little bit, start seeing little trails and stuff. Who knows? This might be dirt bike trails, but I wouldn't know unless I had foot on ground. Once I peg out that area and I've found the areas I want to go to, I need to find a route in there. So this divide road goes right up to basically where I want to go, and we can go line distance here, kind of see where we want to go. So if we wanted to park roughly right there and go right there, that's roughly just under a mile. So I'll go ahead and exit out of that. So we're looking at right around a mile from the road. I'll go ahead and back out and see exactly how I would want to get in there. Looks like I'm gonna have to take a couple of these little roads to get in. So this is all the research that I try to do when I'm going into a new unit. And I'm saying hypothetically that I drew a unit 61 tag, which I would probably never be able to draw that tag. Let's go back up here, and I want to touch base on some of the other layers here, because then we can get an idea of the elevation. So we can use contour lines. So the topo, if I click on the topo, these are the two areas that I pegged. It shows exactly what I was looking for. 9,000 feet right here where I pegged that, which is a great starting point. I don't know how, some of the peaks in this unit, I don't even know if they get too much higher than maybe 10 something, but that's just a guess. I wouldn't know anything until I got on the ground and put some boots on the ground. So once I pegged out this area and figured out this was the area that I want to touch, and I applied and I drew the tag, for the residents, it's easy for us to go in and probably set some cameras in there, but I wouldn't even want to go in there without any cameras, because remember, if you got an area that you peg out, then those are going to be the areas that I go in, I see sign, I see lots of sign, I'm going to go ahead and set cameras so I can see exactly what's in that area. I think as Dirk said before, I really want to see cows on the camera more than bulls. Don't get me wrong, would love to see the bulls on those cameras, but 9 times out of 10, if the cows are in here, the bulls are going to be in there at some time or another in September. But for the guys that can't get out here to do these scouting, this is the best way you could do these scouting. Just get on your base maps or whatever app that you may have, and put as much effort in hours to cover down. And then when you peg all those areas, it will do justice that you got 5 or 6 areas that you pegged. When you fly out here or you drive out here, be able to cover those areas and mark them off the list. What I like to do is I like to label them as 1 star to 5 star. 1 star meaning there's not a lot of sign in there, or 5 star meaning there's a lot of sign in there. So stay with us. We're going to show you boots on ground of what I'm looking for. And then just to recap here, I'm on the Colorado Divisional website. I use hunting statistics. I choose elk, and then I bring up those 2 reports. When I bring up those 2 reports, the first report I like to look at is this report right here. It tells you everything you need to know about that unit, whether it's total amount of tags in that area, how many people applied for that area, to what was the draw out after they used their preference points. This particular one only just solidifies exactly what was on that other report. And then I bring up Google Earth, and then I start covering ground with Google Earth. As I said before, those drainages right here, I liked a lot, but those are just starting points. And then I bring up my base maps, and then I start dissecting the area with different layers, layers that help you out as far as winter migrations or summer corridor. And then after that, I get on the ground and I start covering it with trail cameras. Like I said, this year we have 18 cameras out in the unit that we're hunting, so that we'll be able to show you pictures and things like that I'll be able to cover that. And then when I get on ground too, I'll explain what I'm looking for, why I set those cameras there too. So stay with us. Thanks again. Hey, to end you on a high note, hope for everybody's success. Call those bulls in.